everyone. Today we'll be making chicken pot pie, and in order to start making it, we first have to prepare our vegetables. So right here I have carrots, onions, and even though the recipe doesn't ask for it, I have spinach here because I love adding spinach to a lot of stuff. And we didn't have any celery, so we won't be using celery. We'll just be working without it. Alright, and now we're going to use 5 tablespoons of butter, and we're going to put it in a pot along with all of our other vegetables. So let me get that ready. And what we're waiting for is for the vegetables to start being translucent. So the onion should start being see-through once everything's ready. Alright, now as you can see, it's starting to bubble. So that means I'm gonna add my spinach in here. And while we're doing that, I did measure out some things. So I'm going to be using 1/3 of a cup of heavy cream and about 3 cups of milk that I'm going to add into later as it cooks more. And while it's cooking, don't forget to whisk it as well, so that way the heat gets evenly distributed and all the flavors can mix together. Alright, and now we're going to add milk in a little bit at a time. You don't want to add it all at the same time, just a good amount. It should cool off. I'm going to also add a little bit of heavy cream, also a little bit at a time, and then we're going to wait for it to heat up. And now as you can see, it's starting to bubble more. So that means it's time to add a little bit more at a time. So a bit more milk. As you add the milk, you should notice that the bubbles are going away. And a little bit more of the heavy cream. Alright, now that it started to bubble again, we're going to add a bit more. Also going to be using a chicken base to give this a little bit more flavor. So about half a tablespoon is fine, or 1/3 I'd say, about 1/3 of a tablespoon. Alright, and now that we have that cooking in the background, while we're waiting for it, we're going to prepare our chicken that we're going to cook separately and then add it to it later. So I'm going to start seasoning it right now. This is garlic powder and salt. Alright, and that's it. Alright, now that our chicken's ready, we're going to start adding it to the pan. So first we're going to add some oil. Alright, now that this is starting to sizzle, you want to make sure that you don't get too close to it or you might get accidentally burned. And I am going to be adding some dill to this. It is currently about 11 minutes since we started cooking. I'm going to add a little bit of pepper to it. Alright, now that we're waiting for our chicken to get ready, I'm going to start adding some more stuff to our stew. Alright, now that we have a pretty good consistency, I do want it slightly thicker though, so something that we do sometimes to help it thicken is add a little bit of flour. Alright, it is currently 3:29, about 8 minutes since we flipped it over. And we're going to wait for it to cool down a bit because we don't want the juices leaving the chicken. So we're going to wait about 3 minutes. Alright, so 3 minutes have passed. So now we want to cut the chicken up to put into our stew. So we're just going to cut it into tiny pieces. Alright, now that the chicken's ready, we're going to put this back to heat up. We're going to add some peas into there. So open this up. Use this to drain out all the water. Add it all in there. And it wouldn't be a chicken pot pie without chicken. So here's our chicken. We're gonna stir it and let it rest for about a minute because we want everything a bit more cooked in there. And then after that, we're gonna put everything in the pan and get it ready to put in the oven. All right, now we will prepare some dough for the chicken pot pie later, but before we do, I want to make sure I preheat the oven to 400 so that way we can multitask a bit, and by the time we get finished with the dough, we can just put everything in the oven and just wait. So go to bake, we want 400, and start. And now Alright, now we're going to be working with some puff pastry. So before we work with it, we want to make sure we have a clean surface. So I cleaned this surface right before we started. And now we want to add some dough because we don't want we're going to add some flour because we don't want the dough sticking to the table. Now we're going to get out our puff pastry. Now this has been left out, so it is ready to cook. We're only going to be using one though. So we're going to put this to the side. We're going to be using this one right here. Take it out. Flour up your rolling pin. And I still want it to be a good in density, so I'm just gonna barely roll it. I'm gonna be using a pizza cutter to cut this. Alright, now we're gonna be cutting this into 6 pieces. So there's already some lines in there for us. We're gonna be using those. Alright, and now we're going to be adding all the stew into that tray right there. Alright, now while we're still waiting on the oven, we're gonna get over dough and add it to our pie. So I first want to add 2 to the side right here. And we're gonna add 4 to the side right here. And now we're gonna get an egg, crack it, get fork, whisk it, alright, now we're gonna put everything in the oven. Make sure to ask either a parent or a guardian for help with this. We're gonna put it inside at 400 for around 30 to 35 minutes. And then after that, everything should be done. Alright, and now that 30 minutes have passed in the oven, our chicken pot pie is ready. And that's how you make chicken pot pie. Thank you for watching.